A sealed diplomatic pouch, slipped into King Charles III's cabin at 38,000 feet, carried 8 pages that, if leaked, could torch half the Commonwealth. Behind the pouch's red wax, the king's handwriting mapped Project Borealis, a blueprint for the next decade that no minister, not even the Prime Minister, had yet seen. Why the secrecy? Because London intelligence had intercepted chatter that a foreign power was courting Canada's western provinces, dangling energy pipelines in return for a future referendum on ditching the crown. Charles, still raw from chemotherapy, had decided he would confront the threat himself, jet lag and risk be damned, turning his first post-diagnosis trip into a silent counter-coup shaped by history, oil and loyalty. The aircraft's descent lights glowed over Ottawa, just as Prince Harry stepped onto a Beijing rooftop bathed in jade LEDs, pitching a £2 billion green hydrogen corridor to investors who, British diplomats whispered, were also funding Arctic shipping lanes that could undercut Canadian sovereignty. 2 Windsors, 2 continents, 1 invisible chessboard. Royal courtiers called the symmetry coincidence. GCHQ analysts muttered another word, divergence. Inside Parliament Hill, Charles resisted the urge to touch the scar where doctors had installed a port 2 weeks earlier. Fatal infection risk, they warned. But duty outweighed caution. A monarch who hides behind a sick note, he'd told aides, invites the Republicans to sharpen their knives. And knives, metaphorical and otherwise, were already out. In London, an anonymous telegram channel styling itself Buckingham Mole had leaked rumours of Operation Alderney, a regency plan naming Princess Anne as temporary guardian of state if the king missed 2 consecutive privy councils. The leak spiked online chatter by 61,000% inside 6 hours, enough to rattle Downing Street and send equity traders dumping defence stocks tied to royal warrants. Camilla, reading briefs on the flight, marked the mole's posts with green highlighter. Green was her color for disinformation that might still wound, and nearly every line glowed. She knew Canadians adored Charles's mother. Any hint of instability could reignite Republican talk dormant since 1999's failed referendum in Australia. So she drafted a line for the throne speech. Our enduring partnership, tempered in peace and defended in war, stands unshaken, a veiled rebuke to those who thought a family illness could break constitutional steel. Meanwhile in Beijing, Harry's keynote hit 37 million streams in 22 minutes, after China's state broadcaster clipped his line, "Borders mean nothing to the atmosphere we share." Western policy hawks groaned, climate activists cheered, travel industry CEOs saw revenue charts. But in a luxury suite above the conference, a lobbyist handed the Duke a briefing marked confidential. It detailed a pending merger between 2 Asian hotel giants that, if approved, would abandon Canada for tariff-free Arctic routes via Russia. Harry, sources say, called a late-night Zoom to Montecito. Meghan's verdict: if that's true, you can't stay silent. Travelists' credibility depends on speaking truth to power. So the Duke drafted an op-ed for the South China Morning Post hinting that new corridors must respect indigenous stewardship from Nunavut to Xinjiang. Diplomacy by headline. Back in Ottawa, Charles's motorcade sliced through protesters waving placards. Treaties before thrones. RCMP intelligence had warned of disruption. Palace security counted only 40 demonstrators, yet one carried a poster showing a red X over the crown with the slogan, 1931 was yesterday, a reference to the Statute of Westminster granting Dominion autonomy. Charles asked to meet the protests' leader privately. The young woman introduced herself as Iona, Cree and legal scholar. Eyewitnesses say the king removed his gloves despite the chill, shook her hand, and promised a round table at Rideau Hall that very night. "Not another photo op, Your Majesty," she replied. "Real land back, or real backlash?" He nodded once. "Hold me to it." Iona later posted on TikTok, "He looked ill but he listened." That's a start. 10 million views by dawn. Inside Canada House London, High Commissioner Ralph Goodale watched events unfold on triple screens. His staff tracked real-time sentiment. Charles's handshake bumped monarchy favourability 10 points among Canadians under 30. Harry's hydrogen pitch boosted it 7 in urban British Columbians keen on green jobs. But the Mole Channel pushed a counter-narrative. Cancer strain forces king to sign secret abdication clause. The claim went viral before fact-checkers shot it down, yet the damage lingered in meme form. Charles in a hospital gown superimposed over a crumbling Buckingham facade. William, monitoring from Windsor, convened crisis video calls with palace comms at 4:30. His directive, flood feeds with footage of his father touring Inuit art exhibitions later that day, highlight Charles's passion for conservation predating COP summit trendiness. Simultaneously, Catherine uploaded an unscheduled Instagram reel with the children planting red maple saplings at Anma Hall, captioned, "Rooted in history, growing toward tomorrow." Within an hour the reel outperformed every official Commonwealth account post that month. But intrigue deepened after noon when Reuters flashed an exclusive. A Hong Kong conglomerate had donated £3 million to Travelist the previous quarter, money routed through a shell company under US sanctions watch. Harry's team rushed to clarify funds were pledged, but not accepted pending due diligence, yet critics smelled conflict. Columnists asked, how can the Duke champion sustainable tourism with capital of questionable origin, while his father advocates clean governance abroad? Republican MPs called for a parliamentary inquiry into royal fundraising guidelines. At Rideau Hall, Charles chaired that promised roundtable. Participants included First Nations chiefs, energy CEOs, and the Governor-General Mary Simon, the first Inuk to hold the office. Behind closed doors, witnesses say the king proposed a sovereign-backed trust using Duchy of Lancaster profits to finance indigenous-led solar microgrids across remote northern communities. A surprise gesture labelled Crown Reconciliation Bond. Economic advisers warned the £120 million seed fund could anger UK taxpayers. Charles insisted constitutional lawyers find a path by October. If the Crown is to endure the 21st century, he told the room, it must invest in those it once overlooked. Silence followed, then applause, not the polite kind, but the visceral sound of tables struck in agreement. 2 hours later the king collapsed in a private corridor, fatigue compounded by dehydration. Medical staff fitted and 4 royal doctors debated cancelling the evening's state dinner. Charles refused. "I miss one speech, Buckingham Mole wins," he reportedly said. The dinner proceeded. Cameras captured a slightly hunched monarch, but none the wiser to his earlier episode. In the broadcast's audio, subtle edits concealed pauses where he steadied his breath. Overnight in Beijing, Harry's op-ed went live. Chinese censors allowed it, but state media appended an editor's note praising mutual respect for all development models, a diplomatic softening that diluted his land rights message. Advisers urged him to release the unedited version via UK outlets. Doing so risked jeopardizing his nascent green finance deals. Harry hesitated, torn between mission and momentum. He texted his father's aide offering to brief the king on Asia-Pacific climate financing frameworks. The reply came hours later, appreciated. Timing presently unsuitable. No signature. Simultaneously, The Times broke news that Operation Borealis, the secret pouch papers, outlined contingencies for appointing a climate high commissioner reporting directly to the monarch, empowered to audit government carbon targets annually. Names floated included a Nobel-winning Arctic scientist, a Canadian Metis energy reformer, and, remarkably, an unnamed international social impact entrepreneur resident in California. Speculation exploded that the last description matched Meghan Markle's circle of philanthropists. Buckingham Palace issued a classic non-denial denial, stating no appointments are currently under consideration. Still, the rumor matrix spun wild. Could father and son be on a collision course to share the same mission under different banners? At Heathrow the following evening, Charles's entourage cleared customs in record time. Waiting at Clarence House, oncologists prepped the next infusion. Aides handed the king global clippings. He fixated on a Canadian editorial titled A Monarch's Courage and a Prince's Vision. The piece argued that for the first time in generations, the crown's survival might hinge on a divided family finding synergy across continents and ideologies. Charles penned in the margin, "Synergy must not become slogan without substance." As trams rattled through a rain-soaked Beijing, Harry prepared to board a flight to California, his inbox swelling with offers from Asia-based ESG funds, some reputable, some murky. He drafted a strategy memo, align Travelist with Commonwealth Youth Councils, invite Williams Earthshot winners to co-design metrics. He hesitated, then appended, request audience with HM to explore Crown reconciliation bond collaboration. He hit send into the palace's secure email portal and powered down for takeoff. By dawn, London street vendors hawked tabloids blaring Charles defies cancer, Harry courts China, family at crossroads. Inside Windsor, William poured coffee, read every headline, and phoned Catherine, "We need a Commonwealth summit at Sandringham, youth, climate, reconciliation, everything. If we don't do it, someone else will." She responded, "Then we'd better set the table before Christmas." And so the stage is set. A king pushing his body to keep centuries intact. A prince carving carbon-neutral corridors through rival superpowers. An heir readying a homecoming that might finally reunite, or irrevocably split the House of Windsor. In our next episode we'll reveal the leak that suggests which name inside Operation Borealis has quietly topped MI5's reputational risk list, and why Catherine may be the key broker in negotiations that could license the first royal-backed green bond in history. Subscribe, like, and keep your notifications on, because the Crown's future is being drafted in real time, and you won't want to miss the clause that could change everything you thought you knew about monarchy, money, and power.